Wolves moved to 13-12 after defeating the 15-13 Utah Jazz as Rudy plays his first game back in Utah after the trade. He had a very, very good first half. He looked like the Utah Jazz Rudy Gobert in Utah. The second half was a far weaker performance, but picked things up towards the end of the game, and it was still good overall. This game was a very inconsistent one. However, another really solid game out of the Wolves without Karl Anthony Towns. However, we're struggling to put together a full game still, like has been the case all year. And as has been the trend, we had an incredible first quarter and a good first half, and a terrible third quarter. Let's start by talking about the first quarter and first half. The Jazz start out the game on fire from three. Their first 4 baskets were three-pointers, and Beasley had 8 points after, I believe, 5 minutes, and he had a big night, as did Vanderbilt. Both of those pieces that we traded really performed tonight. Walker Kessler was a little shaky, but has had a good rookie year. In that entire first half, the Jazz couldn't do much of anything around the rim. Their offense was exclusively on the perimeter, except for a couple of floaters, mostly by Conley. And the defense was tremendous. Gobert was a huge presence out there, and they just weren't even trying to challenge him. That changed in the second half. And also got a bunch of lobs from Kyle Anderson, especially tonight, who would have a great game, getting a double-double with assists tonight. And the Wolves would also have just 3 three-pointers in that first half, which is probably the main deficiency of this team, I would say, right now. Our role players really cannot shoot. Just about none of them, three-point shooting is like their main strength. The only person on the roster you can really say that about is Bryn Forbes, who isn't even in the rotation and has looked really bad when he's been on the court this year and still is only shooting 25%. But someone who is getting on the court a ton is Austin Rivers, who is shooting 19% from 3 this year. He got 20 minutes tonight, which I think was completely unjustified. Jalen Noel only gets 21, and he had another great game. He's had like 4 or 5 really, really good games in a row, but he's just instant offense whenever he's out there. I think he's an underrated defender, and he doesn't turn the ball over, which is something that everyone on this team seems to have a propensity for. And another person who doesn't turn it over, Jordan McLaughlin, only got 4 minutes tonight, and maybe I missed something. Maybe he got hurt or is sick or something. I didn't notice that, but if he was healthy, I have zero idea why he got 4 minutes and Austin Rivers got 20. Anyway, the Wolves' fantastic presence and dominance of the paint led to them being up by 15 at halftime. And Gobert was really the main driver of that because Anthony Edwards was not the presence on defense he has been and really had probably his worst or one of his worst games of the season. He was hard to watch for most of that game, had a terrible shooting night, and it kind of felt like he just gave up about halfway through. Wasn't really trying to make an impact. As I mentioned, the third quarter would be a dominant one for the Utah Jazz. I believe Gobert didn't score at all in that quarter. We also probably left him on the bench in the third longer than I would have liked. Our rotations in the third were just kind of odd in general, I thought. They started to penetrate a lot better, and Jordan Clarkson was starting to hoop. Anthony Edwards still couldn't really score. D'Lo didn't put any points up in the third. And so ending that quarter, the Wolves only have a 3-point lead. And another note on rotations, we are really starting to see how much it hurts to not have Taurean Prince out there. He's a very steady presence who is good on defense and can shoot the hell out of the ball, spot up especially, and boy, do we miss that. Fourth quarter, the Jazz continue to throw punches, and it's a back-and-forth game. However, every time they start to get a spark and some momentum, D'Angelo Russell just hits 3 after 3. He would have 6 threes, 6 for 6 in that quarter, with 20 points to end for 30. He was so composed and dominant in that quarter. It was incredible. In a note on Gobert, they showed a graphic where how his defense has kind of fallen off, at least to start this year compared to last year, because last year he was 3rd in the NBA for blocks and 2nd in defensive rating. This year he is 16th in blocks and 79th in defensive rating. And it's been very noticeable if you've been watching these videos, but he looked better tonight at least. And I mentioned how terrible Ant was tonight. He did make some clutch plays for us. He had a big 3, he had a big layup, and forced a couple turnovers late there too. So even though he was miserable and hard to watch a lot of that game and did not shoot well, came up big in the last couple minutes, That was good. Team is playing well without Karl Anthony Towns. Let's keep her moving. Might have some tough decisions ahead.